All right, howdy. I guess we're going live now. Put on the big light here a little brighter so you can see my face, but not that it's anything to write home about, but it just, it looks better when you can see the person that's talking and sitting there in the shadows. Okay, there we go. And tonight, I don't really have anything, super hot to talk about. Just thought I'd chime in again after last night, throwing out a half hour's worth of just rambling. Tonight, I just would say recently I shouldn't say I read, but I did read a little bit as well as look at videos online predicting when the collapse of civilization, humanity, whatever, the world as we know it now, when it's going to collapse. And they're indicating is somewhere around 2040. It's not clear to me if it's going to happen in 2040, some event. I don't think it's like that. I think it's something going to precipitate 2040 being the bottoming out period, maybe. It's just unclear. If that's also the time when AI is supposed to have total control, I mean, there'll be a linked AI. In other words, now the AI we have is small AI. It just can do within little domains. It can do things, whatnot, but it has some control and say over things, of course. It's just we're all using the tools now. We've been taught how to use them somewhat. Not everybody's on board 100% with how to use the tools, but it benefits the person in the world today to know more how to use the technology. The more you know how to utilize it, the better off you'll be able to navigate through the network of everything that is available through online services now through the telephone, which is really a little computer more than a phone. We call it a phone, but it's really a computer, very high-tech computer compared to what we had around, just a couple of decades ago. So it's evolved quickly. And the more the technology gets better, more powerful, the more most of that's going to go to the elite people first. The brand new technology will be used and shared by them. I thought it was interesting when I found out recently how long the military had GPS before it finally just one day made it available. Why? To everybody for free? There had to be a reason for that. Well, they know that allowing everybody to have this service of GPS, which is wonderful. I'll grant you, it's one of the best things ever has come along for me with the technical computer world. It's become enhanced. I'd say the computer world, but since about the 90s, I guess, is when it really started kicking in. Right, I didn't get on board until 20 years later, like 2011. I got a serious computer and a smartphone and started trying to learn how to do some things on it. But younger people that are very adept and each generation will just grow up thinking this was, even though they'll know the world wasn't always like this, it's going to seem like it to them. Just like me being born in the world of TV, I don't remember a world where we didn't have TV. It's always been in my world from childhood on. So those kind of things. Kids growing up today, computer things will just be natural. They'll interface with them a lot better. In more better, but in ways that they can utilize them better. But that being said, that depends on the whole AI thing. If the whole super AI takes over, which will then control everything, theoretically, I don't really know how that's possible, but let's say it was possible, then the AI would be like a god, kind of. It would just be the ultimate, say, a voice on the planet as to what happens where humans are involved or something like that. I don't know. I haven't read enough science fiction or science either way or fiction, to tell me the best notion of when civilization will end. If it'll be 2040, if it happens gradually, that means we're probably right now in the waning days of the really good days. They may not be that many more ahead. I think we're still living pretty fat and easy. At least I am here in Denver, Colorado, and the neighborhood's quiet and easygoing, and life goes on. It's pretty nice here to live, and just like I'm sure it is in many places of the country and the world beyond the United States and around there everywhere. The earth is an incredible place with incredible resources and things to see and to visit and to, if humanly possible, to visit, that is. But most of it, we never see in person. I mean, 90, the percent of Earth that I've seen in my life is so minuscule thinking back, I have been a few places and seen a few things and traveled, not really extensively, just, when I was younger and not as much as I grew older. That's kind of on me. That's a shame. I just didn't choose to do it as much. Mostly my traveling was to see family. Anytime I traveled, it was to see family for some reason. So I would go back and forth to the same familiar places. I didn't actually travel around as much as could have, would have, should have to see other parts of the country or even go outside the borders and other countries out there. So much to see, but I don't want to get on a politics too much. I know somebody sent me a thing, kind of a I wouldn't say it was rude, but it was harsh towards LifeSpring. He really had a negative impression of it, I should say. It seemed like, and mainly because of the rule about not going to the bathroom, which I think the whole point of that rule was just to not have interruptions. A lot of people getting up, just avoiding an uncomfortable moment and bailing out. But I mean, for legitimate reasons to go to the bathroom, I didn't ever see anyone prevented from going that needed to go. So I don't think that's a very big thing about the LifeSpring training to keep focusing on. I mean, I was in at least 12 different trainings, one way or another, either participant or as a backup coordinator, support system person. And I never saw any incidents or heard of any of being bathroom confrontations. I don't know where that thing kind of just almost mythical, although I'm sure that probably did happen somewhere sometime. Maybe that's what feeds it today. There was one event maybe that became publicized. I don't know, but it's gone and dead and buried. LifeSpring's far gone, so I don't really have any stake in interest in defending it either way, other than to say I'm really grateful I had the experience when I did. It was very positive for me. Maybe not everybody feels that way as much as I do, but for me it was. And it was money well invested, because not just the money I invested, but the time and effort. I suddenly became aware of my own life being worth investing in, which I had not up to that point, matured enough to really gain the perspective of seeing what my life could be or what I wanted it to be. I've been floundering a lot and being very indecisive and being very irresponsible in a lot of ways. So it kind of woke me up to that reality. And it did that in a way that I don't think any person could have ever accomplished. A therapist or a friend or family or anybody could have accomplished by just telling me. It was a thing I had to really experience. I experienced it in the 5 days of LifeSpring that woke me up to some realities of the ways that I had been living my life, thinking everything was hunky dory. Really, it wasn't. And I saw the bigger picture of how it really does work in life. And I had been kind of trying to, I guess, cheat the system a little bit, not being 100% participant in my own life and not being fully committed to things I said I was, just not having as much integrity or having really any, just being kind of a wishy-washy individual. And it got me to look at a lot of things. Is that kind of person I am? I'm just choosing to be. Am I being lazy? Do I want to keep being that way, or do I want to change? Can I change? I mean, I confronted a lot of different things that I realized if I really wanted to go deeper in some of these areas, having a therapist would be smart. But it took me many, many years before I finally realized that an extended process of therapy with someone that you fully trust and is a quality therapist, how valuable a resource that is. I never really had that over the years. Never had the commitment to stay with any one therapist very long. So I never gained very much benefit, because you really have to, it takes a little time, just meeting with a person an hour a week or whatever it is, to establish, not only a network, a bond there, but for that person to know enough about you to know how to guide you and help you in some ways. So I recommend it to people that can benefit from it. Not everybody needs it, obviously, but the people that can benefit from it and don't get it, that's just personal choice. People can do other things outside therapy. It's not the only way to improve one's life. It's only one way of many. And it is expensive. I think the price of it can preclude or, make people just not want to put the money out. They don't feel like they have the extra money to spend on it. And insurance should cover it better, but a lot of times it does cover some. Sometimes it does not. And even having insurance nowadays is very expensive. It shouldn't be. It's one of the things I've always felt about our country is that we're kind of backwards in that respect. The other nations that are much smarter that extend a better quality coverage of health protection, for costs of medical expenses people are going to have in their life. It's covered through this national system where your tax money is coming back working for, you as a person, instead of it going out to a military budget, and you don't really seeing the benefit. They can tell you all day that it's preserving freedom around the planet, but I don't know how far that one's going to go today. That over, reach of saying we need to have a military as big as it is, or else the whole world will fall apart. I think it's a good argument that it's falling apart right now on its own, no matter what the United States military does. That's just one. It is a big factor, the U.S. military being so big. It's a huge factor in the world today. It cannot be minimized. It's so far-reaching. It's mind-boggling. The U.S. military presence. It has become like the policeman of the world. It plays the role of policeman of the world. I heard that term back when I was young, and people were kind of upset about it back then, and they still are today, I guess. Some things never die out, huh? Okay, well, I think this is what else I want to mention today. Not a whole lot, but it's, like I say, I have the other channel. I'll be getting back on probably tomorrow, maybe late tonight when the ban is over, and they'll let me post again. I might post some other videos on there again. I mean, I will be putting more on there again, but I'm just saying I might ease into it slowly. I always feel a little bit dismayed by the judgment of Google and YouTube in that they censored me here, gave me a strike, which is a path down the road of getting rid of your channel. Now I have to be ultra cool about everything. No nipples showing, no sexual innuendos, no certainly nothing that's against masks and pandemics and vaccines. I can't not go there at all. Nothing too political probably would be smart. Just stay away from election stuff, even though I've already posted some things, my opinion, so everybody knows that. If you don't, I'm for RFK Jr. Definitely not for either of the Democrat Republicans. So I'll leave it at that. And yeah, why hasn't the DEA, why hasn't the whole commission, the whole aspect of our bureaucracy that controls the scheduling of drugs, I believe it's through the DEA, but it could be wrong, maybe it's Congress. But anyway, why haven't they reclassified, as they refer to it, marijuana or cannabis is a correct term? Why have they not reclassified it in the lower schedule? I guess it'd be Schedule 2. Probably ought to be more in Schedule 3. But take it out of the Schedule 1, which it clearly does not belong. And that has been well known for a very long time. So it seems just like the ultimate in government bureaucratic stupidity to continue to keep a classification, because it's not unimportant. There's a great significance to making this one right. It's caused a lot of problems for people that are trying to do business in the industry now around all the 38 states that have it for medical and the 20 some odd that have it for medicinal only. It's growing number all the time across the United States. It will eventually, when these more conservative states, once they see the benefit the other states are getting from allowing their people to have a choice to use this instead of penalizing them and increasing more prisoners in their jails for using it, it's just stupid. They ought to come around. It's the 21st century now. We're a quarter into it, and we need to stop these old antiquated views that came about in the first place because of government overreach, government for many reasons, complex reasons, not the least of which was racism was part of it, but there's other factors beyond that too. That wasn't the sole reason, but there are other reasons why, the other industries did not want competition. The companies that made alcohol and tobacco, they were fine with their products being the big ones out there. They didn't want to see this new one, marijuana, coming in that in the 1930s. I wasn't around 1930s, a long time ago. That's when it was really in late 1930s. It started becoming a real big deal in the media, and the smear campaigns through the media trying to put out the notion that marijuana, it was just like heroin, it'll cause death, and insanity, and you do all these depraved things uh, that later you'll be held accountable for, but it'll be too late because you'll be damaging society by using this deadly drug, they called it. So propaganda was pretty thick, and it lasted a long time embedded in people's minds because even though it was wrong, the ideas were put out there and believed by a lot of people that carried on to my parents' generation, who were deadly afraid of anything like marijuana when it first started becoming popular again in the 60s. And people were using it in colleges, and it was unavoidable. You were going to run into it one day. So for them to put out the idea to us that it was exaggerating, that it was something that it really was not, just made it that much more enticing for me to want to try out. When I finally did, I realized it's not at all what my parents said it was, and it's not a bad thing at all. But you live and learn through your own life, and culture changes too, and now the whole attitude about it today has changed so much in a lot of the states in America, and I think it's been for the better in every state. I can't think of anywhere it's suddenly become a big problem and they had to reverse it and go back to prohibition. Uh, it seems like if we did prohibit anything that or restricted any substance out there, you think it would be along more the lines of tobacco and alcohol, because they're really the more serious ones that create more health problems for people, and they always have and they always will, for good reason. But not all people use alcohol abuse it, and they can use it in a way that's actually beneficial to you too. So don't want to get on that soapbox, but that's it for today. I'm going to end the stream here. I always like doing the little stream because it's almost, in many ways, it's just therapeutic for me to get some things out of my head I want to talk about with somebody, and just sharing it with somebody out there. This beats just talking to myself. Okay. Thank you for listening.